Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock them out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit them with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break them, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I love using this intro. I do. Because I figure one day I'm going to get to stand in the ring with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, and they're just going to hand the mic over to me and say, Mark, we've heard you on Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. We've heard you on the Spotlights. You do it better than I. All right. I always have a hope and dream, right? Mark the Mark here, and I am excited to have my guest, Gemma Jewels, the pro wrestling realist gem, the only gem in wrestling. Yeah, this interview has not been set up about wrestling. Yes, you've just seen her on AEW. She faced my cousin Mercedes, and she faced my cousin Mercedes. We'll leave it at that. But I ran across a post with Gemma, and it hit home, and I'm like, I need to talk to Gemma about this. This is going to be the meat and potatoes of the podcast. And before I go any further and ruin it so you don't listen to the podcast, I'm going to skip ahead to the things that you need to know about where to find us. We're available on a ton of socials: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's all at CanCrusher69. You can find us there. Email us at cancrusher69@gmail.com. If you're listening to this and you'd like to be on the show, cool. Send me an email. We'll schedule you something, and we'll get set up so you can have a spotlight as well. And where you can listen to us: iHeart, Spotify, Google, iTunes, Stitcher. The list goes on and on and on. Everywhere podcasts are, Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast is there as well. And we have to give a special shout out to Collar and Elbow, the sponsor. Yes, Al Snow and his host of hooligans at the Collar and Elbow brand. Check them out. The spring regalia, that's the word I'm using this week, regalia, is coming out real soon. I did see a Falls Count Anywhere shirt that it looks so sweet. If you want to buy that, go ahead and buy it, and then use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll save 10%. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, here comes Al Snow to tell you more about Collar and Elbow, and we're going to deep dive into the interview with Gemma Jewels. Guys, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm sweating a little bit. It's a subject that needs talked about a lot more, and Gemma is definitely going to be the one. I hope we can spearhead something from here on out.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers, guys. You heard how excited I am to talk to this woman, this lady, this amazing performer. Oh, you're laughing already. No, I'm excited. I really am about so much, But I want to tell the story actually how we met, and we'll get to it. Welcome to the show, professional wrestling's rarest gem, Gemma Jewels. How are you doing today?
I am very good. And you know what? Is your real name actually Mark?
I really am. My mom duly named me Mark the Mark. Yeah. Yep.
I love it. I love it even more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so I don't go by Rarest Gem anymore. I'm the 6 Foot Bombshell.
Damn it. I didn't do my homework then.
No, you're good. I kind of just started rolling with it after a promoter called me that in a post and just said the Bombshell is going to be returning in this month. And I was like, Bombshell. I like that. And I didn't think that it had been done before. So I was like, okay, maybe we're going to roll with this. See how it goes.
Yeah, because you're 6'12", right? Essentially.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So a lot to cover here on the podcast. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by. But I want to know the stuff before we get to the meat and potatoes of this. Who introduced you to professional wrestling when you were a little Gemma?
That's what's funny is actually nobody. It wasn't like I have a younger brother, but he wasn't into it until I got him into it. But my dad wasn't watching it. He didn't give two shits. He didn't like it. I mean, he didn't like it. It bored him, whatever. But I would just be laying in bed at night when I was like 11 or something. That's around the age I got introduced to it and started liking it. And I'd just be flipping channels and I just would see it on. I'd just get excited and be like, oh man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be entertaining. This is, the show gets crazy. Like I was just glued to the TV. I just loved it. And then, my love for it just kept growing and growing. And I became, a regular viewer. And then actually, was able to get all my neighborhood best friends into it. So we could trampoline wrestle and all that good stuff. So I got everybody else around me into it, and, including myself.
So you said Dad could give two shits about it, but would he at least take you to an event or anything? Or he's like, nope, you're not going to this?
Yeah, no, he did, and that was always the best thing. Of course, he supported it, and because, for instance, he took me to every single show, and then there was one in particular where my dad, based on his background, and he also worked, he was in the trade show industry for 35 years. So the arena at Gwinnett, which is now Infinity Arena, something like that in Gwinnett, where AEW just was.
Yep.
They actually, my dad had a meeting with the president, just ironically, one week. And the guy gave us 5 free tickets and we were right on the aisle, the walkway.
Nice.
So I got to touch and basically hold HBK's arm and Booker T and RVD and Lita. I was so happy. I was on cloud 9. And so he went above and beyond for me no matter what. So of course he would always take me.
That's awesome. Shout out, by the way, we'll be down in your neck of the woods the end of May. We're going to head down to Deep South Wrestling. And then,
nice.
Of course, I'm a minor league baseball nut too. I have to see Gwinnett. I really do. Their new logo, which isn't new anymore, but the freaking fish is amazing. I need that. Yeah. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't blame you. There's a lot, and the Gwinnett Gladiators, a hockey team there too. That may have kind of been more my dad's connection with, the president of the arena there. But it was definitely a night that I will never forget. So yeah, every single time I went, my dad was the one to take me, or we'd just get dropped off.
And Dad would come back and pick you up. What the hell did you kids get into? Right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. That was for Armageddon. That was for a pay-per-view, I remember.
Oh, God. That's awesome.
Years ago. I know. Yeah, it was great.
You named some, HBK, Booker T, and all of those, but who are some of your favorites that really sucked you in that first time you were watching wrestling?
Well, I mean, I'm sure, I sound like a broken record at this point because I say on every show, or interview that I do, I mean, there's literally only one main person that really stood out to me and made me fall in love with the sport as far as on the male side. And then the female side, there's different influences, but it's The Undertaker. I mean, I just was obsessed. I just loved.
Who wasn't?
Right after. Yeah, it will. You'd be surprised, but it was right after he came back. It was around like WrestleMania 20 time. And he quote unquote came back from the dead and fought Kane, and that was an incredible pay-per-view. I had saved up. It was $50, and I saved up 25 to ask, and begged my mom to pay the rest, to see if I could see him, just to see him and just to be able to just see WrestleMania and experience the whole thing. So I actually basically from then on, I watched him just all the time, and he's had like the perfect career. He embodies everything that a wrestler should be, and protected his character, and really just did that for 30 years.
Yeah.
And locker room leader, a safe worker, but also fair when receipts needed to be made. You know what I mean? Like that's just, and he's super tall. So I try to embody a little bit of that here and there when I'm in the ring. But he has been my ultimate influence and my favorite wrestler of all time.
Great. Did you cry during the Hall of Fame speech? Because
Yeah.
I did. I cried, I laughed, I got mad, everything.
I didn't think that I would, but when he didn't speak, when the crowd was really cheering, I just broke down and I was sobbing. I was bawling my eyes out. But I had also cried when he kind of made the speech, the year before in front of no people, which I don't think was necessary at that point. They should have just put it all to this year. But when he made that first thing and he, announcement, and he couldn't get it out, he couldn't get the words out, and he still could barely get the words out, because he doesn't want to retire, and you can tell. I also cried like a baby then, because I was just like it's just the emotion. It's just, I think that, if wrestling has ever made you cry, then you are definitely a fan. If you've felt some kind of emotion like that, and he brings that out of people. And even, like Jim Cornette said, he still got goosebumps every time that The Undertaker still comes out. Yeah. Even to this day. And I still would too. He's just a mesmerizing character. And so, yeah, I was in bad shape the other night for sure.
And when he said never say never, did you run around the house like mark the mark?
Of course.
And go, yes.
As soon as I saw him stop and then go up for his to go put on the stuff, I was like, yep, here he goes. I knew it. I was like, I knew he wasn't going to just walk away. He had to say that, because he still can't bring himself.
Right.
In every interview he's done, in everything he's ever said, he cannot bring himself to say never, and I'm done for good.
And I never want him to. I never want him to.
No, and we don't want him to, so we love it. So we eat it up. So, of course, that made me so happy.
Agreed. You said that The Undertaker was your main overall favorite, and there's some women involved as well. Don't tell me, because I do a little bit of a game after watching some of your matches and see how horrible I am at guessing who you take yourself and portray yourself after. So when we get to that part, we'll get there. But who are some of the women that you liked? Maybe not portray yourself after.
Well, some of the women I liked growing up is definitely like Lita and Trish. And I actually had this infatuation with Tori Wilson. And I just thought that she was just gorgeous. I mean, even though obviously women's wrestling was a lot different back then, and she may have just been a sex symbol, but she still went out and they still put on some pretty decent matches, and they looked good. And I liked Stacy as well, because long legs like me. Right. But yeah, Tori Wilson was one of my first favorites, absolute favorites growing up. And then as I got older, and right before I wanted to join and start wrestling or join a school, it was Nikki Bella for the most part. So because back in the day, I mean, you're like, I'm thinking, I want to do this, but I'll never be looking like a Playboy bunny. I don't look like Sable. I'm not going to get anywhere near this, I'm sure, but I'm so happy that so much of it has changed.
It has, and I think it's so much for the better. I said this several times during the pandemic. I think the women carried the pandemic. Have it be Sasha and Bailey and Asuka and Britt. All of them kind of just carried everything. And the women, the men, were put to the backside, and the women waved the flag. And I think it should be shout it to the rooftops more, but they still do not get it, and I effing hate
know.
that.
I know.
So
exactly, and to have Evolution and then to go right to the, to not have Evolution again as a pay-per-view, and then go to the Middle East the first few times when the women weren't allowed to even attend the show or wrestle, I saw that as kind of a slap in the face. But it is what it is, and I'm glad that they've been able to evolve, and I'm glad that the likes of like Lita went over there. She was awesome. Definitely one of my favorites. I've met her, and she's an amazing person inside and out, and I love her to this day. I have her autograph at home.
Yeah, hanging on the wall, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So when you decided, when was it that you decided to get into professional wrestling, and then how did you research the Nightmare Factory to find it?
Well, I didn't start at Nightmare Factory, actually, but what had happened, I mean, like, for the longest time, it stayed in the back of my head that I wanted to do this. And then Total Divas came out as a show, and I remember thinking, well, wow, like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, this is such a big thing now. And it seemed almost a little bit, it just kind of remotivated me, reignited that fire inside of me. But I would always Google search for schools in Georgia. And honestly, I mean, they were like, 3 or 4 plus hours away, or there just weren't very many options. And I would always search, nothing would come up. And then, I worked a 9 to 5, and I was 27 years old at that time. I decided to Google schools again, just for the, I don't know, 5th time, or 6th time, knowing I probably wasn't going to find anything. And even if I did, I wasn't going to do anything about it. So I'm like, all right, we'll try this out maybe again. So I Googled schools, but this time a school had just opened up. It wasn't Nightmare Factory. It was something different. They're not in business anymore. I won't go into too much detail. It just turned out to be a huge mistake. And I just didn't really learn anything. It was just kind of all over the place. And I just kind of felt more, it was just kind of more of a business type transaction than actually heart for the business.
Oh, it was like I was training you then. It was like I was training you then, essentially. Go ahead.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I did learn some good stuff. I met some amazing people that I'm still close with and that I respect, and they respect me. But that's, what was interesting was someone, like, during my time at that school, one of our students had gotten in trouble, I guess, for trying to tell people to go to this other school or whatever. So because when he told us all that, I started thinking, what other school? Like, what are you talking about? And then I found it was Power Factory at that time.
Okay.
It was just Glacier and QT, and they had just the one ring, and QT had basically just moved down here and had just opened shortly after the first school I was at. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this could be a better fit for me since I'm not getting what I need here. So I went and sat down and met with QT. It was great. And it was basically like 8 to 15 of us some nights in this one ring, just wrestling for basically like 3 hours. We were just going and having a blast. And I learned so much from him eventually when I shook loose the other school, which was actually a task in itself because they made everybody sign contracts, and it was just a mess. That's what I mean by about it being about business. It was not run by anybody that had ever set foot in a wrestling ring or even, or do anything about the business. It was just it just was bad. So I finally made the jump after a lot of hoop jumping and tears and emotion and just leaving, and I'd also lost my dad in that time as well. So I started in January 4 years ago I started in January, 3 years ago at Power Factory at that time. And then I had spent the year before in the other school off and on, up and down. So yeah, that's what it started out as. And obviously it was long before AEW was a thing. So, I mean, Cody wasn't really around then. He didn't really train me at all. But QT and Glacier are just incredible. And I was really blessed and lucky and fortunate to get in with them when I did, for sure. Yeah.
And then
how it's taken off now.
No, that's okay. And then you get in with them, and COVID hits, and then there's COVID. We don't need to get into COVID. But you also have another little setback. What?
I did. No, it wasn't COVID. I started at the new school, and my self-esteem was just not there because I didn't know what I was doing. I was so confused from the other place that I went to, and just that was no good. So that took me a little bit at first, and I had almost quit because I just, my head was all over the place after losing my dad, and I just was like, why is everybody else getting this and why am I not? And it was a mess, and I really did debate quitting because I would see new people, new girls and guys come in and just nail everything and just do it and no fear, and just I think I was overthinking everything, which I tend to do. So something like that. But so I decided for that matter one weekend just to go home and just really study and take a step back and look at this for what it is. What am I missing? My thoughts were that I thought that everybody had to do all the flips and had to know how to do everything, absolutely everything, or you weren't anybody. So I was overwhelming and confusing myself. I didn't know that you could work to a specific style and create, what makes you, you. And I did almost quit, but then I went home one weekend and studied and took for 4 days and took 5 pages of notes. I went back with a new attitude and wanted, QT to show me or just to help me with some things. And I told him some things I wanted to try. And he was like, I don't know what you did, but you're 100 times better. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I've got some momentum, right? This was a year before COVID. So I got some momentum. It took a while. Then I tore my left ankle and I was out for 6 months in a boot.
Fabulous.
And that was, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, wow, okay. This is great. And I probably stayed out a lot longer than I should have, but I was so scared if I screwed it up even further that I would be permanently benched. And I just wasn't going to take that risk. So I was out for about 6 months to play safe. I didn't have to have surgery, but it was it was a bad sprain, one of the worst injuries I've ever had. And then I came back and then COVID happened. So I'm like, is this just a sign? Am I just not supposed to do this? Because then the school shut down for 2.5 months, right?
Right.
Which it's not that long. Thankfully, Georgia was a little bit more lenient with our COVID stuff. But so after we went back, that's when I finally got the steady momentum. And that's what I've been still on, for about 2.5, 3 years now straight. So, yeah, so there were definitely some roadblocks, but I finally got to where I am now. So
I'm going to jump to this question, and then because you brought up your dad and you brought up that he passed, and essentially that's where we kind of met, and I'm going to release it on it's already been released on your Instagram, but people don't know how we met. But so
right.
Tell me who Gemma Jewels is, and this is where I pause you, because this is going to give, these are the 3 people who, when I watch your matches, this is who I picture you as, or you've taken some of their moveset. You're bigger.
Okay.
You're 6'12", as I said. So your clothesline reminds me a lot of JBL. So I have JBL there.
Oh.
Yeah. Charlotte, of course, because you kind of do the natural selection a lot. And because you're a bombshell now, and I still even roll this in with the rarest gem, you got some Carmella in you. So those are the 3 that I see.
I like that. I've never had anybody kind of break it down for me like that and really study my wrestling. So I appreciate that. Yeah, Charlotte, I get at every indie show too, all the time. They'll yell it and they'll whatever. And, it's a great compliment. Obviously, I don't have, as much talent damn near close as she does. But honestly, it's one of the biggest compliments when people are like, oh, yeah, that's Charlotte. She looks just like her. She's just like her. And I'm like, well, hell yeah.
Run with it, girl.
That's who I got a lot from because, tall women are also few and far in between and tall wrestlers. And that was one thing that I watched when I was trying to figure out if I still could do this and take notes on it and all that and whatever. I was like, I just watched tall wrestlers, Undertaker, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Edge, a lot of Charlotte because she was tall, Chyna, what have you. So yeah, tall plays into it a whole lot.
JBL and Carmella not anywhere close though, right?
No, I didn't know that. I mean, Carmella definitely with my persona, I think that fits for sure. I just never had anybody compare, me to JBL, so that's new. So I will always, of course, take that as a compliment.
Good.
But but Charlotte, it hit the nail on the head.
Good. 1 for 3. I'll take it. Good enough. 333 in baseball is a great average, so I'm good enough.
No, I mean, I'd say Carmella character, yeah.
Okay. All right, well then 667, because the other number is really bad. Yeah.
1.5?
Sure. Good, thanks. Now you're just stroking my ego. Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you have a great pedigree, first and foremost, in the whole sports type of deal thing, because this is what we're going to get to. Your dad was an NHL hockey player, a forward, a brute kind of for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And
an enforcer.
An enforcer, yeah. And maybe not a brute, but an enforcer, yeah. So did you get to see many of his games, first and foremost? And then I'll really just unleash how I found you and holy shit, our paths are on the same damn line.
Right? No, I actually did not, because he retired. He played and then retired before I was born. But what's funny is that his first NHL goal was January 21st. I think he was 77. And I was born January 21st at 1990. So,
holy shit.
I know. Isn't that weird? It's really weird. And it just kind of further explains, the bond that him and I had. So, so that, I didn't get to see any of his NHL games, but I got to see some of his charity games, and he would still skate and stuff. Obviously, my brother, the genes and the athletic stuff, but I guess hockey wasn't really for him. So it was kind of funny how I ended up being the somewhat quote unquote athlete of the family, when really that's, I don't know if it was supposed to work out that way, but it did. So,
well, you said there's a bond, and we spoke a little bit beforehand. And Daddy's little girl, again, at 6 foot plus, and I'm a mama's boy, and this is how we met. There was a post a while back about your shoot job, and I'm not going to give too much away, but you got a nice tip, and because you're having a rough day at work. And sepsis came into that conversation. And I'm like, holy shit. So I read into it. Then I start doing some diving into it. And I'm like, oh, man. I know a lot of people, nobody actually posts stuff like this about it to release. The sepsis is how your dad passed. And that's essentially the way my mom passed. And why don't we talk about it more?
Right. It's like a silent killer. It's one of the number one killers in hospitals, and I don't know why there's not a conversation about it, but at the same time, I wouldn't really know many steps to fix that sort of thing, but it doesn't mean that we can't have the conversations.
Right. We should.
Absolutely.
Mine, again, whatever you want to say, you can clearly say. I've opened up before, especially when we had the whole thing of we did a tribute to my mom, and if you ever want to go listen to anything about me crying and just being drunk, and we just opened up. My mother was going in for essentially an elective surgery, and they hit a bowel, and they didn't find it for days later, and then it was too late, and then 11 days after she passed. The worst 11 days of my life. I essentially quit my job, and I sat with her for 11 days.
During that 11 days, were they waiting to find something out, or were you waiting in limbo, or did you know she was going to pass? What?
We, after 5 days, they were trying this, that, and the other. I'm sure probably the same as your dad. They were trying this, they were trying that. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And then they had that conversation saying, there's nothing. It's now beyond, things are deteriorating on the inside. I'm like,
right.
They're like, we can try this, but she might not make it through that surgery. And she was half awake some days, and then other days she wouldn't wake up for days.
Wow.
So I said no. I just saw it in her eyes. I'm like, no, let's just keep her comfortable the rest of her life, because it wasn't going to be a healthy life after that, even if she did bounce back.
That happened to a friend of mine, actually, where her mom and her ran like a matchmaking service together, and her mom was like life of the party, most beautiful woman, and all this stuff. And because of a routine surgery and sepsis, she, now can't take care of herself, and they lost everything. And it was a tragic story. So it definitely, it's bad. It is horrible.
Yeah. It's brutal. It really is. And it's, on my part, just sitting through, I wouldn't change it. I would change it that you wouldn't have it. But I mean, I would not change spending that 11 days with her until, because.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Just holding your hand, crying every day. Yep.
But yeah, you had to be there, and she knew you were there, and
yeah,
he was gone in a week, and very fast. And I'm kind of glad I did not have to see him deteriorate, because he always said, I don't want to be a vegetable. I'm not going to do that. You can pull the plug. Like, he's like, no, I'm not going to live my life like that. I'm not. So he never wanted to do that. But the thing was, they gave him a 90% chance to live, and instead, he died 90% through the MRI when he went under for a 4-hour MRI. He went under anesthesia so they could find out what's wrong, because he had fallen while doing yard work and thought he broke his neck and had extreme pain. And no hospital or doctor, for whatever reason, would really take him seriously about his pain. And when he finally did get taken seriously, when he was admitted, he went immediately into the ICU. And they wanted to build up his strength and wait until he was coherent enough for them to put him under anesthesia. My brother discussed it with everybody because he was there, and he signed the waiver and all that. And about 90% done with the MRI, he lost his blood pressure, and they rushed him out and couldn't revive him. And so it was cardiac arrest, sepsis, and I guess staph as well too. But what's interesting was 5 years before he died, in 2018, he was actually misdiagnosed with sepsis, and they told us then he was going to die when all he had was actually like a kidney infection. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Right. And this time that's why I didn't take it as seriously this time, because I was like, okay, this is what they said last time, whatever, and gave him a 90% chance. And you want to believe and listen to the doctor, but
right.
And yeah. So we had the scare once before.
I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing. That means a lot.
Yeah.
That's connection. Right. You just always like, not that you like hearing stories, but somebody out there, you went through the same thing, and my heart goes out to you and your family for that. And yeah.
Same to you. Yeah. It's rough. For sure.
It is.
But when you do connect with somebody over loss, it's one of the deepest connections that you can have. And you feel like you've met like almost a best friend. It's happened to me many times, and like charity golf tournaments that were thrown by my dad's company, things like that. And it just, yeah. So I've met a lot of people that have gone through the same thing, and it should be talked about more. So that's why I don't mind talking about it.
Good, yeah, because that was the realest. Reach out to have somebody on the podcast. I'm like, I think we have the same story. We need to talk. Oh yeah. By the way, I have a wrestling podcast. I don't even care about the wrestling podcast. I want to talk to you. So that was
right.
You were like, who is this freaking creeper? Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, there have been worse, and I, to be honest, I don't do a whole lot of podcasts because there's been a lot of requests, and I just got to find, the time again, and just, it's usually just kind of me repeating the same stuff that I've been saying. So sometimes I look at it from that side of things, and I'm like, well, do people still want to hear this? But this is a little different for me. So I do appreciate, you looking into me and following me and my journey and everything. So
awesome. Thank you. All right, let's get back to wrestling, lighten it up a little bit. You're coming back off of meeting my cousin Mercedes in a wrestling match on AEW. First and foremost, I'm a fat garbage man, okay? How was catering? And then we'll get to the match.
It was good. They have a bunch of healthy snacks lined up. At first when you get there, and then you just grab it was like a gourmet sandwich box or something like that. And so, they're a fantastic company. AEW really is, and it was great to be down there and just really see it. And great, doctors and execs and people that take care of you and agents and the whole thing. It was just it was great. They're a great company, solid people.
Yeah, being from the Pittsburgh area, we have two good friends that hang out down there. One, your former women's champion, DMD Britt Baker, and the other one who is going to be the future of wrestling. If you haven't heard his name, Wardlow, get the hell out from a rock.
Right, yeah.
So your match with Mercedes probably didn't go the way you wanted it to, but my cousin is the brute of the family. How was it working with Mercedes?
It was great. She, I didn't know she had a school or has taught this or had 20 years experience. I didn't know too much on her background. And when I first got down there, I was afraid that I wasn't going to have a match because sometimes that happens. But then, we were like number 23. So the crowd gets a little stale after a while down there. But I really enjoyed working with her, and she was supportive and everything, but sometimes like you're given a certain time and then stuff has to get cut. So you have to be quick to come up with a solution, work around it. So that, we had to do that because that did happen to us a couple times where, hey, we're just going to, start with this anyway, or this or whatever. So,
yeah. Something big coming up in your life before we hit the random questions, by the way. May 21st, Ultimate Women of Wrestling in Las Vegas. Yourself and Evil Lee, Santana Garrett, Genocide, Jordan Blue. The list can go on and on. I need to get out to Vegas for this. This sounds like an amazing card. How did you get involved with this?
I really just, for shits and giggles, messaged the promoter or the Instagram account, and I was like, I've always wanted to wrestle in Vegas, and that's really
that's a great story.
I started. It is, right? Because I've been in sales for 10 plus years, for my job. So I'm used to following up with people, being persistent, marketing, putting myself out there. That's never been an issue for me. But it was so I just said that, and I didn't even know if they were looking for people. I didn't know what I was going to hear back. I just was like, I might as well shoot my shot. And then it said, okay, well, yeah, they, were like, send your information here. And we'll have, Evilise, she's, basically producing the whole thing, and we'll have her take a look at everything and just, see. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, it's, I don't know how she's going to feel or if she's going to like my stuff, but it's worth a shot. And, sure enough, I got the email that was like, hey, Evilise said, you're all clear, and we'd love to have you. So I was super excited because this will be the first show, and I'm super excited to see where it goes. And they're taking really good care of us already, with all expenses paid, all that good stuff. And I think it's a big step in the right direction for women's wrestling as well. So I can't wait.
I agree. I hope. I haven't seen it yet because since I saw the first post that was happening, I hope it gets picked up by Fight or somebody so everybody else can get to watch it, because it's going to be a huge event. And I hope it continues, and it's a let's compare it, because I'm going to be that dick. Let's compare it to WoW. Hopefully it's on that same atmosphere as WoW and stuff like that. Even Mission Pro, because Thunder Rosa, what she's doing is fucking amazing too.
Of course.
So I don't want to get you in trouble by mentioning any competitors or anything. I mentioned all those people.
No, okay. Not at all. I was gonna do a tryout actually for WoW in January, but then when COVID, the Omicron reared its ugly head again, they canceled it. So I don't know, when, but I was ready to go. I was gonna go, and I was super excited. But that's always something to look into in the future. And I love and respect Thunder Rosa, and I train with the Renegade twins, who've just spent over a month at training with her and stuff. And I'm trying my best to get out there. But just to, to perform in a show, but I'd rather just kind of send my information and do all that when I feel like I'm more ready. Right. And I was actually like going to wait even for dark to kind of ask or to put the feelers out there. But it was Cody that suggested that I go because I had been at the school for so long and he wanted to give me an opportunity. So that's one thing that I will always be thankful for. He's an awesome person, and really he just kind of appreciated the fact that I always said hello to him when he came in, and that's what he appreciates, just respect. And yeah, so he just thought that I should go, and I didn't want to be like, oh no, I'm not ready. If it's my only shot, then I'm gonna go. So that's exactly what I did. So yeah.
Isn't it amazing how being a good human being can get you things instead of just shitting on people the rest of your life? I'm not saying you do, but people think that it works.
You're right, because he would come in, and every time I'd see him, because he trains the camps there still, and that's really the only time I see him. And I would always say hello to him. Nice, good guy, and he would come in and train on occasion. For like himself or sometimes with some of us before he purchased half our school and started the camps. So he would be around those nights, and he knew me from then as well. And just a select few of us that were still kind of with everybody or with the school from the very beginning. It's obviously taken off now, but yeah, I mean, QT would be like, you guys could say hi to Cody when he's here. Like, you don't have to, because Cody thought that we all had egos or something now and whatever. And I was like, oh, I always say hi to him. And then, QT was like, no, he says you do. And it's one of the only reasons he knows your name.
The honor student.
So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. No, right? I just, again, I wasn't even thinking anything of it. I just say hello to the people that I see and the people that come in. Yeah. And that's what we're taught, obviously, is to fist pump or shake everybody's hand or whatever, COVID, now we just do the fist pump usually, but that's kind of how QT originally, like, well, that's what he started with. Like, he's like, I don't need to shake everybody's hands. You guys could just, make it quick and easy. I don't need everybody lining up to say goodbye at the end of the day. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. So it's a time saver. And I like it better anyway. So, yeah, so Cody, was the reason that I went, and I'm hoping to go back, but at the same time, I'm not really in any rush either.
Oh, you have a bunch on your plate, so yeah, which is awesome. Right. So yeah. All right, random questions, and then we'll get back to wrestling one last time. All right, these are really stupid questions.
That's fine.
What's your favorite cereal?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a caveat to this question. Really, we don't give two shits about what your favorite cereal is, but go ahead.
Maybe Fruity Pebbles.
Oh my God, I love you. Yes, that's mine too. All right, we're back on track.
Okay.
All right.
Up there.
And how do you make your cereal? Don't be a sociopath, please.
I mean, you pour the cereal in first, and then the milk.
Right.
The almond milk.
Oh, the milk doesn't matter. It's that you pour it in, and I don't understand. This is like the number one rated question. I always, hey, I'm having this person on in the Discord. I'm having this person on. What do you want to ask? How's their favorite cereal and how they make it? Because you can tell if they're a sociopath or not. Because if you put the milk in first, where the hell do you put the cereal then? Essentially, right?
Exactly.
I know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, when somebody pours it for you, like, don't do that.
Yeah. No, come on.
You don't know how much I want in there. You don't know my life. Don't do that.
Get out of here.
Right.
What's your favorite gem? And please don't say yourself. Don't be that person.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to.
Okay.
Well, I like my birthstone, which is a garnet. Okay. For sure. And then, I mean, obviously everybody loves diamonds, but I do like morganite as well.
Okay.
It's pretty.
No love for the emerald. No love for the green.
They're beautiful. I just it's not at the top of my list, I guess.
Okay. All right. Last stupid one. Would you rather have a beer with Hangman Adam Page or Private Party? I don't know if they really drink beer. So alcoholic beverage. We'll put it that way.
I don't know. I don't know. Because Adam Page was always drinking, the whiskey, it seemed like, right?
Right.
So I think Private Party, just because their name, party. So I think they could drink anything, and two is better than one. So I think, it'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, so you want more than just a shot. Okay. Understand.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to get ready to wrap this up, but there's a few more. Can you look back on yourself as the 11-year-old girl now and say, holy shit, I did this. I am, faux Undertaker. I'm in the ring the same, but all right, you're going to yell at me, so I'm not on the same page, this, that, and the other, but can you say, look at what I'm doing? I'm a superhero now.
I definitely have remained humble through all of this, and really just sometimes thought, like, sometimes, yeah, it does amaze me, and it usually takes somebody else telling me, and well, that doesn't all matter. Like, you had a dream, you went for it, and you achieved it, and so that makes it really special. And sometimes I do have to be reminded, because it is a really great thing, whether I'm the best or not. It's still a great thing, and it's still, I don't have any regrets, and I wouldn't change anything. And so, yeah, as new opportunities arise, as my because I've only been working shows for a little over a year now. So, yeah, I don't know if I would change a whole lot. And I am very happy and proud of myself, but I'm always striving to do better. That doesn't mean that I ever stop working, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
What is wrestling in these couple years brought to your life?
A sense of joy. Just I've met incredible people. I've made awesome friendships. I've met Hall of Famers that, like, I can text. Like, I can text Teddy Long. I can text Ernest Cat Miller. I train karate with him sometimes. Like, it's insane to me. And just being around these superstars, and it was very difficult for me to be down at AEW and, like, sitting next to Big Show and, like, Matt Hardy and CM Punk, and trying not to, like, mark out, I guess. Yep. Yeah. And the only person, and I was good. We learned to control it. The only person I would obviously freak out for is The Undertaker. And that I would make no apologies for. But, aside from that, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I don't know. What is
wrestling brought?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, in that sense, it great new friendships, new relationships, just it's taught me a lot about myself and how far I can push myself. And at the end of the day, it's just, it brings, it's that adrenaline rush, and it's that high, I think, that people that love wrestling and people that do wrestle seek. I think we all have that bug, that pull that pulls us back. It's like, even when you take, a day or two off or something, you still, like, you miss it, and you have withdrawals, and you need to go back, and then you satisfy that high. It is like an addiction, and I love it.
Agreed. That's the whole aspect of this podcast. I'm a mark for you guys. I'm a mark for the business, and you guys, meaning everybody I've talked to, from, Barry Horowitz, Manny Fernandez, Al Snow, letting me into your life, you're letting me in that a little bit, and that's, I never wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be the Fink, or Tony Schiavone, or Jim Ross, or somebody like that. I hate clipping my nails because I might hit my cuticle and I'll cry for a couple weeks. No, I don't want to get beat up. I want to talk to everybody, and that's essentially what this podcast has started, talking to everybody, and I love it. So I understand that high.
Right.
As soon as we get off the phone, I'm going to be researching the next interview. I need to get to talk to this person. So yeah, it's crack.
Exactly. Yeah.
It really is. Not that I've been on drugs at all, but
exactly. But it's always changing, and there's always something or somebody new, or a new move to learn, or this or that. And you can really surprise yourself, and you never know what the next thing around the corner is. So that's another thing to it. It's the industry it's not going anywhere, and it's constantly developing.
Two more quick ones, because I know we're against the wall. If you could change anything in professional wrestling, I know you're young in the business and you haven't seen some of the hardships of, the 80s or even the 90s when it was rough for the women and stuff like that. But what other aspects could you say, man, this really still needs to change in wrestling?
Wow, that one I'd have to think on. I think that it's still, even though women are still kind of coming up, in it. I think maybe just more opportunities, for women. I think
wholeheartedly.
First and foremost, that's the first thing that I could think of, because we are doing everything that the men did and do, and obviously there has to be boundaries at some point, but I do think, like, I don't see why WWE can't have the Evolution pay-per-view every year, or every other year. I thought it was going to be at least, you know what I mean? Like, why was it just a one-time thing? Like, why can't we keep going with it? Because it's still taking off. I just think I think that there should be more women's matches on some of these shows, and that's really it. It's just the more opportunities for women.
Agree.
In whatever way that comes. Yeah.
Agree. I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask so everybody else can hear it. But I put a caveat on it. Dream match.
Okay.
Who, where, and stipulation.
I mean, that's Charlotte Flair,
right.
Of course.
Clearly.
Did you already know that?
I knew that. I did know that.
Charlotte Flair, Madison Square Garden?
Well, you're so generic. I thought you maybe say on your trampoline or someplace cool. Come on.
What? No. Trampoline, I could do a whole lot more damage, though.
Everybody says Madison Square Garden. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, they do? Well, I think that's like the end-all, be-all for wrestling. But honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind it being in like Mercedes Superdome in Georgia, so something like that. But a title match just for the women's championship. I'm not really too into the hardcore shit, to be honest.
No, you're a bombshell. No,
I don't want to wreck my body in that sense. I'm not good at taking bumps on thumbtacks and stuff. But much respect to the women that can, but it's not my thing. But just a clean, simple, title match. I just think that'd be great.
Okay, this is your time. Socials, I know you're on YouTube. Sell whatever you want to sell. Tell us what's up. And did I forget anything?
No, I don't think so. I think you asked a lot of good questions. I appreciate that. So, I'm on, Instagram, Zoe_W101. I'm trying to figure out if I should get another Instagram to change just change the name, but it still can get kind of confusing sometimes. So for now, that's what I'm under, and the same with Twitter. But you can also search Gemma Jewels on either, and I'll come up. And then I have the YouTube channel as well. That has to be under my real name because it's linked to my email. So I can't change, unfortunately, I can't using my business email or email for business purposes. I can't be Gemma there.
Yeah.
But
damn it.
But oh yeah, and I think you asked me, where Gemma Jewels came from, and actually, I don't know if you've ever seen Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
It's after Gemma Teller because I had a boss that I worked for that always would compare me to her, and I've had a lot of other people say it too. And the Jewels just kind of had a nice ring to it, so that's why I decided to do that. I just couldn't think of anything else. I would think about like Jolt, maybe Electricity, something like that, and I'm like, nah, that's not me. That's not me. And Jewels just sounded good, and I didn't even think or realize that it was gems and jewels and what I could do with that. So
right, it rolls a lot better. Yeah.
Right, and it came as soon as I finally, took those notes and started really applying myself, and it all kind of came together. So that's great. That was really lucky that happened, and I was super excited. So that's where that came from. So yeah, definitely follow me on whatever you like to, and make sure. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and just give you, your what is it? Promo right now.
Oh, there you go.
This is Gemma Jewels, the 6 Foot Bombshell, and I am on here with Mark from the Can Crushers podcast. Make sure you check them out for a new episode every Wednesday.
There you go. How's that, guys? That's pretty amazing. In the Spotlight promo, so I can clip and edit it. Awesome. I don't have to do any extra work. Gemma, I love you. I know we're really against the wall. Run. And
you're fine.
Okay, I was just making sure. By the way, she forgot to tell you to go buy her t-shirt at Pro Wrestling Tees as well.
Yeah, well, here's the thing on that. It is there, but I forgot my password at Pro Wrestling Tees. And it's the hardest damn thing to reset, or for whatever reason. So, and I also have a new logo that I'm trying to create a new t-shirt. So I've just been locked out. So please, yeah, if you'd like to, or you can message me for any 8x10s that I sell, or my stickers, cute little stickers, that say set it off. And yeah, I'm going to try and fix that in the next 2 weeks. But right now I'm locked out of pro wrestling tees. And every time I ask for like a password reset email, like it doesn't come through. So I don't know what's wrong.
Tonight, you're going to have to call in and be on the phone for a half an hour. And then
probably.
Yeah.
I really don't want to. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm looking in spam. I'm not getting the emails. I don't know. So I'm trying because I want to put a new shirt on there.
You need an assistant. You need an assistant in your life right now, dear.
For real.
Yeah.
Are you offering?
Sure. I'm coming down to Atlanta anyway, so I might as well make it happen.
When are you coming down here?
The end of May, we're coming down.
You coming down for MomoCon?
What the hell is MomoCon?
It's, a nerd con, but I'll be performing there as well. A lot of young Georgia wrestlers and talent. Momo is, I think, an anime character or something like that. So it's similar to Dragon Con.
Wow. What date? Do you know the exact date?
Yeah, let me pull it up 1 second. I had it. I have the flyer for it. It's on my Instagram. So MomoCon is May 26th through the 29th. I'll be wrestling 2 days there at the Georgia World Congress Center. So I definitely, any Atlanta, AT Aliens, whatever, you guys come out for sure. Or if you happen to be in town, definitely come see me. It's for Stranglehold Championship Wrestling. And I'm very excited because I'm having the long-awaited rematch that I was going to have with my debut match opponent, which, Shalance Royale.
Yep.
So now we're finally, I've talked about it in so many podcasts before when people ask me about what opponents that they would, what did I think of my first match and all that. But yeah, now I get to face Royal again. So we're real excited for that match. And so I don't know if that's the dates you're coming into town, but you should check it out.
We're extending vacation. My wife's going to love that. By the way, she listens to Spotlight, so she really enjoys listening to Spotlight. Not a huge wrestling fan, but when we talk about vacation, her ears will perk up and say, cool, we're staying in Atlanta for an extra 10 days. Deal.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you want to come out, it's always good networking opportunities. There's always some good people there. I know that Ric Flair was at like Dragon Con, and that's where I met Lita and Sting. They were all being inducted into the Georgia Wrestling Hall of Fame, something like that. But there's always a few surprise people showing up, and it's great. Yeah. So they had canceled it because of COVID. I was supposed to do it last year, but now I'm seeing billboards for it. It's starting to get close. I'm real excited. So that'll be fun.
Nice. MomoCon. I have to do research. I'm excited.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. And I'm really excited for this episode to air. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to come on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you very much, dear. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Mark.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gemma Jewels. Again, Gemma, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for opening up about your father and the way that he passed, and listening to my story, connecting, because we both know that you said it perfectly, that sepsis is kind of like a silent killer. We need to spearhead this. We need to know more about it. We need to deep dive into it, and hopefully, I truly mean this, Gemma and I can get something going. It needs talked about. Open everybody's eyes, because she lost her dad. I lost my mom about that. But on the wrestling side, not to make that drastic shift, but to keep it upbeat a little bit, how about that? How about Mark being 2 for 3 on the guests? I'm going to give myself, she said 1.5. I'm taking the whole 2. With Carmella, JBL, and Charlotte. Didn't really get the JBL. You watch your clotheslines, guys. Watch your clotheslines. They're pretty fucking awesome. Guys, if you want to see her, make sure you check out her YouTube page. She posts all her matches on there. Hopefully she can figure out her pro wrestling tees so you guys can get on there. Get the new logo in a couple weeks when she has that released. And again, May 21st in Las Vegas. So if you can get to Las Vegas, that within itself is pretty damn awesome. Ultimate Women of Wrestling. She'll be taking on Zeta Zhang, but you'll also see Santana Garrett, Eva Leith, Genocide, Jordan Blue, and the list goes on and on. By the way, the Renegade twins as well will be there. Yeah, unbelievable. What a great interview. Getting to know more about Gemma Jewels, and she's a Fruity Pebble fan. So she wins. She wins the podcast. Check. Good to go. All right, guys. What a great interview. Had fun again this week here on Can Crusher Spotlight. Keep it real. Keep coming back. We love having these listeners. We love having the talent come on and chit-chat with us. We love hearing wrestling stories. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called the garbage can, not a garbage cannot. And just be nice to people. Look, Cody Rhodes loves her.